How are you, Dave?
Always good. It just seems like we're stuck in some kind of time tunnel, looking at the news and all the things happening today. And we got such an incredible show. And I've got to throw a question out to everybody. Are you sleeping like a baby nowadays, or are you having completely sleepless nights because of a post-pandemic business world? And I say post-pandemic because that would mean it's all over. In some places around the world, that's kind of true, but in other places, it's not. So we'll answer that question for you, and we'll give you some tips on how you can make it a much easier ride for yourself. But how are you doing, Ernesto?
Very disappointed because, well, we started the Toilet Paper Diaries thinking that we were going to be a companion for everybody while we were in lockdown. We started on the, what was it, 17th or 18th of March, and we continued until the 8th of May, so basically 50 days. And we thought that basically we have just gone through, and then little by little we were going to get started in the moving forward. And then suddenly we were thinking, well, the summer is going to come, and there might be a second wave coming in October. Right now we're in the summer, and it seems to me that we are back to square one. I mean, I have no words to describe the craziness in which we are living, at least here in the United States. I honestly tell you, I mean, the amount of stupidity that I have seen in this country, it's unmeasurable. Einstein used to say that the only thing that was limitless was stupidity. I can't believe it now.
It's a shocker, isn't it? I mean, we created this show to be a companion piece for people. And for those who are scared and those worried about it, and for the first time we'd all experienced in going to lockdown, I've been in self-inflicted, is that the self-driven lockdown since. I haven't felt comfortable going out. And it's not because I have a problem with people or I'm scared to see daylight. It's just I'm not convinced that everything's good. And you felt the same, and we talked about it on the show at length. But we know that around the world, people go, come on, let's go crazy. And I never understood why people could suddenly turn around and say, it's all gone now, we can carry on. Because clearly it isn't all gone. There is no cure. Social distancing, physical distancing, plus masks is a better way of dealing with it, but it's not guaranteed. Plus also, the amount of challenges, if you do catch it and so on, are bonkers. Over the months when I've posted stuff about being safe, and about lockdown and all the rest of it, you always get somebody who turns around and says to me, as a heckler or a troll or a hater, you know what, we didn't have to go into the lockdown. It's ridiculous, the amount of money that the world's lost because of this. And I'm thinking all the way through, how much money have we all lost? I know we've all lost a lot. I know that everybody's had a challenge. Businesses have closed. I'm not talking about that fact. That's a real, true fact, and we're here to help as much as we can. But what I'm talking about is, when you're in lockdown, you look at the basics that really matter. You've got your family or your comfort zone. You've got the 3 meals, if you have 3 meals a day, that matter. You've got electricity, you've got internet, and if you've got pets, you've got pets. If not, you've got people you can talk to on Zoom or whatever. These are actually very basic requirements. Not the new clothes, not the driving of a posh car, not the sipping coffee, looking out onto the bay and having everybody staring at me, not the Instagram accounts where you tell everybody how much more important you are than everybody else. All those things are not so important when you're in lockdown. The basics are. And I quite liked realizing what matters to me most. I knew it pretty much anyway, but hoping that the rest of the world would realize it at the same time. But it seems that people are so desperate to get back to what they had before that they're happy to give up everything, including safety, and clearly that was a bad mistake.
Yeah, the original idea of the second season of the Toilet Paper Diaries, I mean, we started, if you think about this story of the toilet paper, it seems like if it was years ago, but of course stuck into people's heads. Now we thought, well, we have to move forward, and we want to actually have the fast forward show, and we want to start already getting people prepared for the new way of how things are going to be working. Now, it seems to me that somewhere some things went wrong. Right now we are again in mandatory confinement. It is really a mess. Now, let me just show you here the figures. I mean, this is yesterday's figures. 2.5 million people, and it's just getting crazier and crazier. And there's still people thinking, well, this was a conspiracy theory. This was something really stupid that went on. Look at that. Look at this other chart here. This is basically still hotspots, the amount of people in the entire world which is still having this. And this is what happened. I think it was on the 17th or 18th of May. There was a video that was called Plandemic, and it was released as a viral video. It was released through YouTube. It was released through Facebook, and it was this video that was just talking about how the conspiracy theory people were basically putting everything into conspiracy so that they will be able to manipulate us. And after this whole thing started, what I thought it was just absolutely insane was that suddenly this became a political issue in the United States. So right now we have the maskers and the unmaskers. And I'm going to I really dislike talking about politics here, but there's no other way to talk about it. I'm pissed off. I mean, I'm really pissed off. Right now, if you're a Democrat and you're a Democrat, you're expected to wear a mask because, of course, it's a mask. I mean, you wear it, but if you're a Republican, no, you just don't wear it because, of course, that's against your liberties, that's against your rights, that's against God, that's against humanity. I mean, it's just freaking insane the stupidity in which we have just arrived. I want you to please. If you're watching this video, please listen with the intent to understand the amount of stupidity of these people, please. It's just insane.
I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things gotta breathe.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
And they want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door. You're all turning your backs on it.
In the beginning, God formed man out of the earth and breathed his breath in him, and he became a living soul. Where do you derive the authority to regulate human breathing? What you say is the political dogma that they're trying to shove down our throats on every commercial, in every store, and it's disgusting.
Every single one of you that are obeying the devil's laws are going to be arrested. And you, doctor, are going to be arrested for crimes against humanity.
Let me ask you all, do you believe you're God? Do you believe you can override God's divine plan for our lives? You're removing our freedoms and stomping on our constitutional rights by these communist dictatorship orders or laws you want to mandate.
We will get together and do a citizen's arrest on every single human being that goes against the freedom of choice, okay? You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that that mask is killing people. It literally is killing people. Every single one of you have a smirk behind that little mask, but every single one of you are going to get punished by God. You cannot escape God. You cannot escape God. I'm gonna say that again. You cannot escape God, not even with the mask or 6 feet. Okay? 6 feet, like I said before, is military protocol. You're trying to get the people to train them so when the cameras, the 5G comes out, what? They're gonna scan everybody. We gotta get scanned. We gotta get temperatured. The kids have to go to school with masks. Are you insane? Are you crazy? I think all of you should be in a psych ward right the heck now.
The thing is, here's the thing that freaks me out, and it's a problem in your beautiful country. It's a problem in many beautiful countries, but especially at the moment. And it's that Darwin has said, and people say, no, Darwin didn't exist, but Charles Darwin said that species exist because they're adaptable to new surroundings. And that's it. Bottom line. You don't have to be tough. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to be brilliant at anything. You just have to be able to adapt to new stuff, and then you'll survive. So we've got a virus going around the world that you can catch by sneezing or coughing or near people or touching stuff that they touch afterwards and go near your face. That's it. So stay away from people as much as you can do. Wear a mask, and you're probably going to be okay. When does that become this great big crazy hoo-ha about? And the thing is, the evidence is right now these guys are having to go into lockdown, or clearly not. Now what happens is, and I hate to say it because I don't see a single person die, but they will not live long enough to complain about it. It's just life, or lack of life. It's a very simple metric. Protect yourself, or this virus could get you. Hopefully not, but it might well.
Yeah, it's just absolutely insane. And it seems to me that we're going to have to actually go and start already living with it. I mean, we can adapt. I mean, we, from the very, very beginning of this, Dave, you and I said, okay, well, I think the environment's going to change. I think we have to go and start doing things differently. And it's time to figure out what's going to happen in the future. So as Trevor Noah was mentioning on Friday on the show, he was saying, well, the way I see it, I think you better get your premium account in Zoom because we're going to be here for a while. This is not going to change in a while. And I'm talking about at least 24. And now I believe that it's going to be 24 to 36 months. So it is just absolutely insane. And right now, what really annoys me, because also John, my wife, is also very upset, is the fact that anybody coming out of the United States going to Europe, they are like the leopards, as you were saying. I mean, so it's the laughing stock and the leopards. That's what the United States has become for the entire world.
It's really bad. I feel for you. I feel for you because during my lifetime, I always looked up to the States to show me the way that the world should be. And it's dropped the ball badly on this one. Not the only country. My own country, Britain, has done just as badly in its own daft way, denying it and pretending it's not there and doing lots of silly things. And if there's
there's many countries. I mean, we're not going to be just a single pointing into the United States. But the thing is, stupidity is everywhere. That is basically more into the fact that we're going to continue this for 24 to 36 months. It's insane.
It should have been over in 12 to 18 months. That's what we predicted, and we sort of laughed at it. There's no way it's going to be like this for 12 months. No way. And then we got optimistic about 18 months. But if it's going to be years and years and years, which it wouldn't surprise me because it's not going to go away without a vaccine. And that vaccine might not be a perfect vaccine at first anyway. And it looks, from my point of view, from what I've seen, like it mutates anyway. So there might be changes that you have to deal with.
This whole episode is supposed to be about virtual makeovers. And it saddens me a little bit that we actually had to go into this because, of course, I mean, our idea is to try to move forward. And I feel a little bit like the crabs or the lobsters, which you get a ton of crabs actually being boiled. And the crab, which is almost getting out of the freaking casserole, is just being pulled down by the other ones, which are just.
I've never had crabs. I've never had crabs, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Crabs or lobsters or whatever they are.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. I know exactly what you mean.
We are going to take you into a imaginary trip on what's going to happen in the next 18 to 24 months. And I know that you are going to enjoy it very much. So if you're watching right now here, please make sure to share this video or this live broadcast with everybody here in Facebook. Promise you that the information that we're going to be sharing with you is very interesting. And if you're watching in YouTube, please make sure to subscribe and to ring the notification bell because we have a ton of incredible information for you. The best way for me to describe what has happened is to try to think of the movie Back to the Future 2. You remember that movie, right, Dave?
I loved it. I just watched it the other day with my 9-year-old. We're just halfway through Back to the Future 3 at this moment, the cowboy one. and we're loving it. Before we do this, just one point. The reason why we don't have a pandemic in our lifetime is because it was stopped before it became a pandemic. We've had plenty of diseases like Ebola, and SARS and MERS, but they were stopped globally before they became a thing.
Yeah.
Just to qualify that. Okay, so Back to the Future.
So we were talking
Number
about
two.
Back to the Future. On the first movie, they are in 1985, and with the time machine, they go back to 1955. And then they go back to the future, and that's why the movies go Back to the Future. Now, in Back to the Future 2, the plot of the movie becomes a lot more complicated because they get into a parallel reality. Now, let me show you this short clip of the film so that you understand why this is so important to understand.
Imagine that this line represents time. Here's the present, 1985, the future, and the past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate to you, me, and Einstein, but reality for everyone else.
Pretty straightforward. I understand that. It's easy.
Yeah. So basically, the way I see things is we were traveling in the normal reality, and then suddenly we got skewed into another reality. And here we are in a complete different reality. And right now, I believe that it is like a parallel reality. Now, in many movies and in many different ways, they have spoken about parallel realities and different realities.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I read about it because I'm still a crazy movie buff, is whenever any movie has people going into the future, especially if it's a near future, even zombie Holocaust near future type stuff, we're now going to have to say, was that a reality where the pandemic of coronavirus or not? Were people social distancing? Were people wearing masks? Did we have an awareness about catching stuff? Because right now, we've not got any movies in the future that have that happening during 2020. I mean, if you look at one of my favorite movies of all time, Groundhog Day, where he keeps living the same day over and over again, he's got to try and change it. The Terminator movies, where every single thing's about going back in time of a Terminator and has it changed the timeline. Star Trek plays with it all the time. The Avengers did it. Avengers Endgame. They went back to try and get all the Thanos things. I should watch it again. I've kind of forgotten. So yes, it does. And in songs, it happens quite a lot as well. And there's
one of my
Frequency.
One of my favorite ones is Frequency, where basically he's talking to his dead father. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many references about parallel realities. I mean, very recently, there was an episode of the Big Bang Theory where Sheldon is actually getting into a wormhole and he's getting to a complete different universe. And the first time that I came across this concept when I was little, it was a movie for one of those Disney movies that Mickey Mouse goes behind a mirror and basically everything looks completely different. So the reason why I want you to understand these parallel realities is because, yes, we have been skewed from the normal reality that we have actually been skewed to another completely different reality. I mean, even in music, I mean, if we remember Take On Me from the 1980s. What was happening there? I mean, the guy was getting into a comic book. So these, I mean, they seem like imaginary things, but right now we're living in a parallel reality. If we just think about it, I mean, right now, if we're gonna go live in a virtual world, this is exactly how we have to see it. We're basically moving into a complete different reality, and I think that's one of the things that we really need to start understanding.
I agree with you completely. It's kind of strange because I think with the virtual world and the things that are going on, I mean, one of my favorite movies of the last couple of years is Ready Player One, and it's a bit like an update of The Matrix, It's a Steven Spielberg movie based on a book where kids live inside a game, and that's when we really become their favorite avatars and they really enjoy the world. That's not a million miles away from what's happening right now in the gaming and esports world, where 2.7 billion people have an alternative reality just by dropping into a laptop or putting on a mask with the goggles on. And why would you want to come out of it into this when you can be in the perfect world with all your friends, chatting, only taking them off to find your pizza and then put it down and put it back on again? It doesn't surprise me one bit that that's the way things will end up going anyway.
Yeah, possibly you remember, I mean, this is a very old film, but one of the films that I really remember my mom talking about it was the King and I. He was the king of Thailand, and he hires a British nanny for the kids to learn English. So basically, she's learning, and then she tells the kids that in England, in some places in England in the summer, you can actually stand on the water. Because, of course, in Thailand in those days, they had never seen ice. And that's one of the stories that really makes me think the most about what exactly is going on right now. So we are thinking, well, I mean, we cannot really see the world until we actually see the world. And people are getting very confused in what is going on. So one of the guys that I really enjoy listening to is Dave Ramsey. He has a great podcast that I definitely recommend you to listen to. And a couple of days ago, he said the following. Have a look.
The bottom line is that market disruption does one of two things. You either ride the wave of it, you create the wave, one of three things. You create the wave, you ride the wave, or you're destroyed by the wave. And I always think of the story of Frederick Tudor in 1820, took the first load of ice in the hull of a ship from Newfoundland to Martinique because people needed ice in their drinks, he decided. Got there with very little of the ice because he didn't even have insulation. Right. And then he invented insulation.
But the point was made.
And point was made. And fast forward from 1820, 100 years later, the ice business was still pretty much operating that way. Blocks of ice with big tongs being delivered by wagons or ice trucks to your front door. Your great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents had an ice box, which was little more than a glorified cooler.
That's right.
And they put a big square chunk of ice in the bottom of it until the market was disrupted by this thing called Freon, invented by an offshoot of General Motors, a subsidiary of General Motors. A company called Frigidaire invented Freon, and commercial refrigeration without ice was born. And you would think the ice business was gone. But there was an ice company down in Texas that saw that coming. They delivered ice, but they also had at the ice house, because it was cold, they kept meat and eggs and milk, and people would come by on off hours, odd hours. The grocery stores weren't open, and pick up the meat and the eggs and the milk. It was a convenience item. And so as the ice business went away because of refrigeration, the convenience business didn't go away, and that ice company down in Texas had these weird hours. It was open from 7 to 11.
Convenience store.
7 to 11.
I did not know that.
And that's where 7-Eleven came from. A guy named Jimmy Graham started that.
You made my day.
Jimmy Graham just completely flipped to with the disruption. And guess what? A whole bunch of ice houses just went out of business. But instead he said, well, this is what we were doing. Let's. And by the way, we sold $1 billion in ice last year for picnics. So the ice business didn't go away. It just changed, and your business didn't go away. That's just beautiful. Changed. Your career, your dream didn't go away. It just changed. You either caused the wave of disruption, which in this case, no one caused it. At least we don't think a person caused this. Obviously, we hope no one caused it. No one caused it. So you either cause disruption, you ride the wave of disruption, or you're crushed by the wave of disruption. And sometimes that's just your posture.
It really is. And I think you make a great point here. What are we going to do?
We either adapt and know that things are going to be completely different, or we're going to be in trouble. Because, of course, right now we have to be able to see things in multiple realities. I mean, in the reality that we thought it was going to happen. I mean, how many times we said, well, when are we going to go back to to normal without really realizing that the new normal or the normal is not going to be there anymore. Everywhere you go, people are thinking in complete different ways. And we just basically need to be able to start figuring out how we're going to be moving forward, even if we do not really know the direction.
I think that what you have to do, and especially from the business point of view, is you've got to look at the things that you can control. This is certainly going back to mental health stuff as well. The bits that you can control, you hold on to them. The bits that are flying around that are changing all the time, let them go. It's all about your ability to look after the stuff that you can have. And even if it's a small world, I mean, if you look at another reality, one of the most celebrated films was My Beautiful Life, I think it was called, where the guy goes into a Nazi prison camp with his son. The guy won an Oscar for it. And he created an alternative reality for his son that was really funny. So he was able then to joke through real tragedy and horror that was happening. And I think that ability to do stuff differently, to understand stuff differently, is also balanced by the fact that some amazing things will come out of 2020 that we just hadn't considered. You and I doing this show would never have happened because we'd never have forced ourselves to find the discipline to talk and to put the effort in. And so far, it's worked out fine. I enjoy doing the show. It's my little bit of therapy, and clearly tonight's yours as well. But for a lot of people as well, they enjoy tuning in to learn some stuff, spend some time with us, and just let off steam. So that's kind of cool.
These are, I think, some very, very nice slides there. It says 2020, they're going to have a movie, which actually was written by Stephen King, and it was directed by Quentin Tarantino. I think this is exactly how 2020
that's how it's going to work.
It's exactly the same.
The thing is, you couldn't write a horror movie like this. You couldn't write it. Nobody would believe it. The idea that we've got this pandemic, the idea that we've got these riots, the idea that we've got people losing their jobs and all sorts of crazy stuff happening all around the world, people would just say, yeah, but that's not reality. It would never be like that. People would be sensible. They'd say that if there's a virus, it'd be a challenge, but everyone would wear a mask and everyone would be social distancing, and you get rid of it in no time at all because the press would make sure of that. No. So, yeah, we're living it. We've got our wish. We're in a reality TV show where they won't switch it off and give us a commercial break.
The sooner you realize that things will never be the same again, the sooner you can move on. That is basically my most important learning point from this episode. So now that we know that we have gone to a complete different reality, now that we know that there's stupid people everywhere, and that it's gonna be very difficult to change things in the next 2 years at least, I think it's really important that we start really looking into the future. So if you're enjoying this information, please make sure to subscribe, make sure to ring the notification bell, because we are going to be sharing more stuff. And make sure to look for video number 2, where we're going to be explaining to you how we are going to be preparing for the future. Now, I think it's time that we go and start seeing a little bit of what's going to be happening. So I always try to look for people which are as credible as possible, because of course, they're going to be saying fake news. They're going to be saying this is not right, or there's going to be, some of those videos which are conspiracy like a pandemic. If you actually search for pandemic, you're going to see the garbage that some people actually put on by some experts. So this guy Wolf from the Financial Times, he had a very nice video explaining what he really thought was going to happen during the next couple of years. And I basically, it's a long video, but I selected some of the pieces which I think you're going to find very interesting. Have a look.
How might the world be different after the pandemic? The most important answer is we really don't know. This is a completely novel experience in terms of what's causing this economic and social crisis, a pandemic, and the nature of the response by governments to close down economies. The combination is unprecedented. We've had crises that start with a real economy like oil shocks. We've had financial crises, But these things happening all together and driven by a disease is new. And because of that, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years or so, and that will shape the world after the pandemic. Now think about the things that are possible but not certain. The most likely change in the world is in the international context. The virus and the response to it is dividing the world, even though it's a common experience. Relations within the European Union and still more between the US and China are terrible and getting worse. There's serious discussion of ending the World Trade Organization or ending trade globalization more broadly. There's strong resurgence of nationalism and protectionism across the world in many different ways. You can see it very, very clearly. It's a pretty good guess, not absolutely certain, so this comes into the likely category, that the globalization story, which was already not really working after the financial crisis, trade growth had stopped, will now go into reverse. I think that will be very bad for the world economy, but it will impose massive shifts in the nature of business and the way business works. A third factor here is technology. And here I think the story is more complex, but it seems almost certain that the pattern of work we've now experienced, this transformation into distance working, the move away from the office, the use of modern technology for running businesses, most people didn't know they could do this, is permanent. It's a permanent shift. It's quite likely that commuting patterns will also change as a result. The real estate business will be transformed. Commuting and the structure of cities will be changed. This is I think, accelerated a technological change that was already underway for the benefit of some very important businesses, particularly the technology business, and to the huge disadvantage of other businesses. Wars and pandemics change the world, and I think it will change the world technologically as well as in terms of global integration and future fiscal policy. So while we're not sure about all of this, some of it is much more likely than others, I think it's reasonable to suppose the world we will emerge into 2-3 years from now, who knows, will be really quite different from the world we were in before the pandemic hit us.
Completely agree with all of that. The world is different and it will stay different, and it won't snap back like an elastic band and suddenly you wake up and it was all a dream. This is it. This is what we get, but it's also a load of opportunities while people are still waiting to get their act together. If you know what you're doing, or at least you know more than other people what you should be doing, then it's a great chance to do more.
The name of this episode originally, before we went into this craziness of the COVID, is virtual makeovers. And more than anything, it is geared for speakers, for authors, for experts. And we want to guide you so that you know exactly what is going on. So right now, we have all been experiencing a lot of different events. I mean, we have gone through Zooms, we have gone through summits. I just saw this weekend the big event done by Russell Brunson, which was his 2 live event that he was having there. We have seen Tony Robbins. So every single speaker is going now into their own different little world. Now, Dave, today you had an event that was done for a large company, and everything was completely digital. So we obviously know that we're going to go into the digital part. Now, if you're a speaker and you want to figure out what is exactly what event organizers are looking for, let me show you what is basically what I believe is going to be exactly what is going to happen in the future. And Dave, I think you're going to find this also very interesting. Have a look.
I'm just delighted that Andrea and IPM.ai have brought me here to do a really fun juggling show and workshop.
We wanted to do something really fun for our clients and for their families during this crazy time. And just came to mind with juggling because we're all juggling so much these days.
By the way, the applause emoji does not count. I can't hear it. Need to hear it.
I think that was one of my favorite parts of the event, was hearing everyone laughing.
Very difficult move. We're going to give it a shot.
Okay.
Thank you for this verbal confirmation. I'm like, is that okay? Okay.
Oh my God.
One boy or girl was very impressed by that. Oh my God.
And I love seeing him interact with some of our clients as well.
I want you guys to toss one object back and forth. Just get in the habit of letting them fly. There we go. Are you ready for step number 2? 1, 2. There we go. Yes. Very good. Uh-oh, those are some hairy knuckles. There you go. Nice. Perfect. You guys got it. Let me see. Let me see. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Let me see. Let me see. Yes, there you go.
That's perfect. Funnily enough, Maya, my lovely 9-year-old daughter, is going to be doing a similar course with Fred Sharp, who's got a School of Magic, a magic academy in Dubai. Now, he's a brilliant magician, but he's teaching kids how to do all kinds of magic, and she's going to be in a boot camp from Sunday through to Thursday, because schools are off now, and learning to do card tricks and all sorts of stuff. So it's brilliant. I love it.
It is very interesting that you also went through the exact same experience that I had the first time I saw this video. Do you know what? I mean, I do not know if you realize what was the URL that was underneath that video. Did you see what it was?
No, I didn't.
Bigspeak.com, which basically is one of the largest speaker bureaus here in the United States. You know what that video is? It's a virtual speaker demo reel. This is one of the most popular speakers. Can you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, interesting. Very
and
interesting.
What did you think? I mean, it looked like if it was a TV show. It looked like if it was that they were advertising something, right? Can you see where I'm going to? Now you can see all my craziness, where it's exactly focusing.
That's very true. It's very true.
Amazing. It's amazing. Right now, we are going to be becoming interactive entertainers and broadcasting and the whole thing. So that triggered my mind, because for a number of years, you and I, Dave, we have been helping speakers in getting their speaker reels together, in getting all of their assets so that they can create their websites. This is a piece that we have never created yet. But now that I see how they are creating the speakers, which are really getting hired, how they are creating their own reels, this is now opening my mind to another way of thinking. And this is just something very important, because we want to help you also get there. By the way, if you're liking this content, please make sure to subscribe and tick the notification button. And I have a question for you. Do you have a platform? Because that's a very important question. Do you have a platform? Now, whenever we were thinking of a platform, possibly we were thinking of Zoom, or we were thinking of GoToWebinar, we were thinking of ClickFunnels, or we were thinking of Aweber, or whatever your platform you were using. No, but that's not the kind of platform I'm talking about. Do you have a platform to communicate with people? And this is exactly the first thing. If you're a speaker, this is exactly what you're going to be requiring. So this is a Instagram message from Russell Brunson. He's saying, if you don't have a platform yet, now it's the start. Now it's the time to start building one. I respect tremendously Russell Brunson, and I think he's absolutely right. So we have a platform. We have the Toilet Paper Diaries. Every single time that we go online, and I wanted to show you this so that you can understand how powerful this is. So if we click on here, we can see this is one random episode that I got 1.7 thousand views live. If I bring another of these random episodes that I got also over here from the Toilet Paper Diaries, 1.3 thousand views live. Right now, this episode is possibly being watched by 800, 900 people. So Dave and I have created a platform. So right now, one of the reasons why speakers are actually moving forward is because they have created a platform. And in order for you to create a platform, you have to spend the hours. You have to do your work. You have to do every single thing that we are telling you throughout these the knowledge sessions that we're having, because it's exactly the direction in which we are going.
Yeah, I agree with you. I found it interesting. But here's the thing I would say that's a real challenge. When you start talking about the entertainers and how you need to be an entertainer, most of the people I know are not entertainers. And here's one of the biggest challenges for the corporate world as well, and for the people who want to become speakers, is most people do not understand the basics of what entertainment is. They really don't. They don't know the basics of engaging. They just talk and hope it works. When you start looking at bringing a speaker who's an entertainer as well, that's a different set of rules, a different set of talents. And if you can speak and entertain, then you can become a Trevor Noah or a Stephen Colbert or a Jimmy Kimmel. If you just speak, then you don't get to that level. You can't teach people that. They have to have that in them.
Look at this guy, the juggler that we had there. I mean, he went from being a corporate trainer and team builder, and he understood that change needed to happen. So what is going on is right now people are thinking that the continuum of how history is going to go, and I'm going to make my 3D effect just going on here.
It's freaking me out. Stop doing that. Stop it. I don't want you to do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So most speakers, what they had until today, I mean, they still have until now, is they have their one sheet where they talk about what they speak. Right now, everybody and their mother can speak and can do a Zoom and can do a presentation, but most of them are going to be incredibly boring. So there's two elements that you need to have in your marketing. The first element is going to be obviously a speaker media kit, which basically talks about your digital side. And this is exactly what we were showing a little bit earlier. So as you can see in our marketing, we are showing right now that we are broadcasters. That's one element. The other element, which is of course incredibly important, I mean, if you want to really have a proper virtual makeover, and this is what you have to start working on, and it's going to take you time, and we're going to continue throughout the week in our next episodes of the Toilet Paper Diaries. In fact, on Wednesday we're going to be talking more about this, and then in Fast Forward we're going to be talking about this. So make sure to join our group in facebook.com/groups /Fast Forward Show, because we are going to start moving into the direction of how we can help you. And as I was saying, so that's going to be one element. The other element is going to be the proof. That proof is exactly what you will require. Dave and I understood how important the proof was, and from day number one that we went into the pandemic, we started building on the content on the Toilet Paper Diaries. Did we do it correct? Did we do it perfect? No. I mean, we have done so many mistakes. Even today, we got lost. I didn't have the video. This didn't happen. This didn't really happen. But what happens is, we are all learning. This is a learning process. Today, Dave, when you were doing your presentation on this completely virtual reality, were there some teething issues? Were there some problems, things that were not working correctly?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we had about 200 to 500 people in the room jumping in and out and going to different other rooms. And literally, it was like, if you can imagine Lara Croft from Tomb Raider in the early days, that was a character about that high. That was me. And I'm looking around in the screen, and I can rotate using my keyboard and looking around left and right to see. And we'll show a video of it in the future episode, maybe on Wednesday. But we did have challenges. My PowerPoint kept fast forwarding on its own. So I had to pull it back and change it and get it and still keep talking and still engage the avatars in front of me. And the avatars in front of me are just representatives of people at home watching on their laptops because of lockdown. So you got a number of different levels of that. I've got to make my avatar entertaining. So I had to learn how to go like this and raise your hand when I'm talking to the audience. So the avatar would do it in the actual game or actually in the thing. So there are a number of different challenges in order to be able to reach your audience and make them all part of what the experience is. And it can be taught. Engagement can be taught, and content can be taught. But for the very best practitioners, there's a real need to generate stuff that's interesting in your head and to help that get to people who will find their lives changed because of it. And I think when you get to the highest level, that's a driver of significance for people who've done really well in entertainment. But you don't have to be at that level. You can still communicate and do very well. If you're talking about business, or you're talking about something more straight and more formal, then you don't really want to joke about it, because that's a lot of millions of people's money that's involved.
So the most important thing that we need to learn right now is, if we want a virtual makeover as a speaker, there's several elements that we need to have into consideration. Element number one is going to be that you need to start in your marketing material. You cannot use a one sheet anymore. You have to have a proper speaker media kit that basically shows how good you are and how good were you in the past, in the pre-pandemic world. Second, you're going to have to show your broadcasting abilities. And for that, you're going to have to start creating videos, and you're going to have to start creating a number of things, exactly as we were mentioning earlier, possibly even have your web TV show. And the third thing that you need to do is you need to start thinking yourself, I cannot just be the boring fart on television. I mean, I have to figure out a way in how to actually be entertained, how to actually deliver a message properly that people are not going to get bored. I mean, you cannot be boring. In this kind of medium, you cannot be boring. And that's why what Dave and I do, it's quite important, because what we are doing is we are basically helping people understand how all this works. And I know might be a little bit overwhelming, but stick with us. Make sure that you keep on coming back to all the shows. Make sure that you join our Fast Forward group in Facebook. And if you think you are ready to either learn how you can actually create that makeover, let me just give you one last point of advice. Right now, one of the things that I have learned is that creating courses and creating content with all your knowledge is not what people are buying. What people are buying right now is results. And if you can actually provide those results, you're going to really do quite well in the virtual economy. So that's an important part. So how can you get yourself from where you are towards where you need to be in this virtual economy? And this is part of the makeover. Find out who is already doing what you need to do and emulate them and work with them. Work with people that can provide results. And that's, I think, how we're going to be helping you create your...
Say you wanna hang, go Juggling!